Welcome into the DNVR Rockies player preview series. I'm your host, Patrick Lyons. Joining me today are Kenneth Weber of Purple Row and Kevin Henry of RoxPile and Call to the Pen. Today, we are going to preview the man known as B-Rod. I also call him the Stinger. I like that because what is a B's Rod? A stinger.
Wow.
I
It's
never
a stretch.
even went there.
I didn't either, but
You probably don't need to. That's just
I'm
kind
proud
of
of
my
you.
thing.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you. I
he
came
went
up with
bold
that.
prediction nicknames already.
I pitched that one to him, and he said, all right. Like, he didn't, he wasn't too disgusted by that stretch. But we'll see if the Stinger is a nickname that sticks around for Brendan Rodgers, a player who broke out last year in a really big way, the second baseman. Batted .284 with 15 homers, 51 RBI. And really, once he got called up in late May, well, he struggled. He scrapped for 2-3 weeks. But from June 3rd to the end of the season, he hit .296 with 46 RBI, above average power. 12 of those home runs he hit away from Coors Field. Mm-hmm. Crazy. Brendan Rodgers, how just refreshing in general is it to see him finally step up to the stage, be healthy long enough to show what he can offer this organization?
How long did we talk about, just wait till Brendan Rodgers is here? And I think this is the first year that we're actually going to see a full Brendan Rodgers. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you that not only helps solidify second base, but it also helps solidify Ryan McMahon, knowing that he can focus on third base. And the Rockies have an option at second that is not only going to be solid on defense, but also contribute a lot at the plate as well.
Great point.
Yeah, I think he was a bit of a fall guy for what happened after Arenado and Story, because he was really set to be that guy in 2019. And I think rightfully so. This guy in the minor leagues just completely wrecked every single level that he was at. He could just plain hit everywhere he went. And it made sense to put him at second base, let LeMahieu go. That money went to Daniel Murphy, and everything really went poorly from that point on. Yeah. But Brendan Rodgers was rightfully supposed to be the guy at that time. Bad shoulder, takes him out for basically 2 years, comes in, ready to go, pulled hamstring, has a delay into the season. He just needed to get onto the field for a full season. He got 3/4 of it last year, and we finally started seeing what that Brendan Rodgers that everybody was expecting to arrive in 2019 was last season. So that was a huge step for the organization and him.
Drafted in 2015, and so 2021 he breaks out. We were talking about him for half of a decade.
Yeah.
Which, again, as you said, fall guy, and it's a shame with that class with Dansby Swanson and Alex Bregman, who were guys that came out of the college ranks.
Yep.
Totally different expectations, but he finally got there because there's so many of those guys who get selected that early that never even make it to the show. And we're not talking about that. We're having a conversation about him finally coming to fruition and finally having a chance for his star to shine, and it really did last year.
And one of the coolest things that I heard coming out of spring training is the fact that he's kind of taken Zach Veen under his wing a little bit. And I love the fact that Brendan Rodgers can say, this is the road I went down. These are the pressures that I saw. These are the things that was said about me that I had to brush off. And so letting Veen know that the road isn't always going to be easy to get to Coors Field, but whenever you finally get there, the impact you can have. I think that's something that shows how Rodgers has matured, shall we say.
Yeah, that mentorship is something that I didn't necessarily expect to hear, because you'd think, he got, 120 games in last season, give or take. That's his, he hasn't even played 162 yet in the majors, I believe. So to have him step up and be that leader within an organization is a little unprecedented, and it's a welcome surprise for me.
I was not too surprised or even upset about him not getting the spot at shortstop. I think it's been talked about a decent amount that, again, with Ryan McMahon, he being a guy who bounced around all over the place, and I think that hurt his growth. Brendan Rodgers just needs to settle in, do his thing at the plate. He's got a home at second base. For him to go over to shortstop, maybe even have to lose a couple pounds, right? He's a muscular guy, does a good job defensively over at second base. Now, changing that body composition and whatnot, it just throws a wrench into the works. And so I didn't have any problem with him not moving back over to his natural position.
No, I think the Rockies love their versatility.
Yeah.
They love those guys that can play 4 or 5 different positions, but I think you're exactly right. There's times that it can come back and bite you a little bit. And I think just like Rymack being solid at third this year, being able to focus on that, with Rodgers knowing, sure, I may have to play some short at some point. I may have to, but the vast majority is going to be at second base. That's where I'm focusing. I think that makes a world difference mentally.
I think it also helps him become his own player a little bit better, because he was supposed to be the heir to Trevor Story, and Trevor Story was the heir to Troy Tulowitzki. The Rockies just love their homegrown shortstop. And really, Iglesias is the first one since Royce Clayton to not be that guy. So I think allowing him to no longer have the pressure of being the next Trevor Story helps Brendan Rodgers become his own player a little bit better. And I do think he would be fine at shortstop if they wanted to put him there. I really do. But, hey, they believe the shoulder is not going to play long-term at shortstop. He's going to be safer at second base. Just let him be that. I think that's a very wise decision to get the most out of B-Rod, the stinger.
The stinger.
Thank you. Oh, it's got legs now. It's got legs. So will the stinger demolish the second base records? Are we going to see that either this year or going forward? LeMahieu, pretty good, put up good numbers, not great numbers, for as long as he was around. It took, DJ, a few years to really before he started putting up some of those better numbers offensively. Eric Young Jr. was around, not terribly long, did a lot more on the bases, but as far as home runs, RBI, double, is he set to really set the standard in Rockies franchise history?
You brought up EY and you brought up DJ LeMahieu. There hasn't really necessarily been that big power guy at second base in Rockies history. Maybe you'll have a couple years of like a Todd Walker or something like that, but we don't have our Dan Uggla. Now, Rodgers is probably going to be a better contact guy than Dan Uggla, but there is an easy path that you can see of Brendan Rodgers becoming the home run king at that position for the Rockies, and that path really starting now.
Dan Uggla. That's a good one. I like that. See, I was going to go Ryan Sandberg, so I like where you're going with that. But
I'll take Sandberg.
But, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that it's something that you mentioned all the home runs away from Coors Field last year, and I love the fact that, as silly as it sounds, proves the kid can hit away from Coors Field. And all those who have the Coors narrative and everything else. Now, obviously, if he can find that power at 20th and Blake to go along with what he did last year, he's a guy that had 14-game home hitting streak, tied for the longest of the whole team last year.
Yep.
With Jonathan Daza. Now, there's a name I would not have expected to be up there. But he's shown he can hit it at Coors. Now can he add the power to it?
Yeah, and I think a lot of those home runs they hit last year were kind of middle to middle opposite field. So he doesn't have to just yank it down the line to do that. Is this going to be his first year as an all-star? Do you think he breaks through? Second base isn't the same depth-wise as third base, and so you can catch lightning in a bottle just a little bit more as a second baseman. But do you think, is it going to be this year? Does it have to wait, a season?
I with India being there from the Reds, I think that it's really going to be hard. I mean, and unfortunately for Rodgers, India's a young kid, obviously won Rookie of the Year last year, so he's already got that young, cool, hip second base vibe going. And so I wonder how much that Rodgers can kind of needle into that as well.
Yeah, there's too much that's out of his control for me to say that with any assurance. But I will say, I think it's very easy to see him being deserving of that. And maybe he's like a final vote guy or something like that.
I like that.
I'm with that. All right, bold prediction time for Mr. Brendan Rodgers. You got to be bold. His haircut is bold. Is that going to be the bold prediction? He gets a haircut? I don't think so. He's keeping that. Keeping that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Last year he had a career-high 5 RBI in one game. How about let's go 7 RBI in one game? How about that? And let's say that he does have one of those games at Coors Field. You remember the Trevor Story 3-homer game? Let's say that B-Rod has one of those this year that everybody all of a sudden tunes in to Sports Center, catches the highlights later and goes, oh, look at that. That's pretty cool.
He has a Jose Ortiz in him is what you're saying.
How about that?
A 3-home run game.
Well, I like where you're going.
He's going to pull a Jose Ortiz. Okay, that's a bold prediction.
I am so sold on Brendan Rodgers kind of becoming that next superstar, and that starting this year. I'm going to say that Brendan Rodgers is the lone Rocky to receive MVP votes this year.
That is pretty bold.
That's a bold one.
Yeah.
I like that.
That is incredibly bold. I like that. For Brendan Rodgers, myself, I think he breaks Clint Barnes's record of 23 home runs at second base. Ryan McMahon hit 24 in 2019, but he did have a handful of them at third base. I think he even had one at first base. But Clint Barnes, 2009, hit the 23. I think Rodgers is going to hit 24. He's going to do that. And maybe he does it in a 3-home run game.
Maybe he does. Maybe that's the September as they're pulling into a postseason frenzy.
In game 162 against the Dodgers.
There it is. At Dodger Stadium.
At Dodger
How about
Stadium.
that? There you go.
All opposite field. All right, we're getting maybe
He'll
too
borrow
bold.
Sam Hilliard's bat to hit at Dodger Stadium. It'll be fantastic. So.
Why not? Let's go ahead and
Just
do
saying.
that. I'm trying to think if any second baseman has ever had 7 RBI before for the Rockies. Todd Walker may have done that actually. Ronnie Belliard. 8. Ronnie Belliard had an 8 RBI game once, folks.
Wow,
In 2003, the power of the internet and my fingertips.
Things I would not have said.
No,
I
people who don't come to mind for me are Ronnie Belliard. I was gonna guess Kaz Matsui with the G Slam
there you go.
Ooh.
There
as
it is.
being
Yeah.
a starting point, but yeah, I mean you dug deep.
All right, so it's going to be a Jose Ortiz, Ronnie Belliard fest this year. For the Stinger, Brendan Rodgers. This has been a good one. We've got a few more to do here on the player preview series for DNVR Rockies. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies. Now, only 50 cents for your first month at the DNVR.com. For Kenneth Weber, Kevin Henry, I'm Patrick Lyons. Let's have a season.